Alright, just wanted to do a quick video on how I make applesauce. Pretty much this was the basket of apples I got off of my tree. This was just a couple of branches that were leaning to the tree too far over, so I chopped them off. I still have a bunch more apples out there. And pretty much you just take those apples, you put them in a big pot of water, you put a little water in it, and you just let them boil down. This is pretty well crushed up. You know, as you can see, I just take it and I just keep mashing it with a potato masher. And you just mash it down so it becomes that pulpy substance. And you'll see the water actually turn to what looks like applesauce. You just keep boiling it so it's less water and more applesauce. You know, you kind of put the lid on loosely. You let the water kind of boil off only as little as possible at first, so you're heating up the apples, and then you mush them in like that. You let the water boil off till you'll see it has the consistency of applesauce. But you have all those chunks in there. Let's go back. Back, I said. Now, so you have all those chunks of applesauce that you're putting in there. Let's look at it beforehand. This is what it turns into for you. Go back and stop. This is what it kind of looks like towards closer to the end. And if you see some cinnamon in there, I did put some cinnamon in. Any kind of cinnamon will do. Just dash it according to your taste. And it's just a lot of mashing. That masher is a plastic one I got from, I think, the dollar store. I need to get a better one of those. And you definitely want your arm covered because that'll splash up on you while you're doing this. Now this is the machine that I have. This I actually bought last year when I made some tomato sauce. The same machine does the same thing for applesauce. Pretty much you pour, once you get it to the consistency of applesauce, you kind of pour it in the top there. And as you crank the handle, you'll see two places it comes out. All your bulk will come out here. Maybe a little applesauce, but I don't care about recovering it all. The rest of it goes out into the bowl, which is your applesauce, you know. So this machine is a great machine. They make lots of power attachments and everything else for these. This thing cost me, I think, 20 or 30 bucks. So I wasn't going to go crazy trying to get, you know, some commercial machine. For the amount that I make, I don't care. You know, the tree I have, I already got like 30 pounds of apples. Let me show you. Yeah, I showed you the batch, right? You know, that was the apples that I got. You know, and I only took a small portion of them. I'll show you what's left at the end of the video. So it's just a matter of constantly going through and mushing them down. You know, mush is the only word for it. And that's the only hard part. After it boils, probably a half hour, 45 minutes. After it starts boiling, you turn it down to a low boil, a very low boil, or else you burn the bottom of the tank. And this is what happens when you run it through the mixer. You're taking all the actual skin, anything solid on there. And I kind of missed the step I didn't photograph. Before I put the apples in the pot, I would quarter them. Any bad spots I would just cut off real quick. Any of the stems I'd pull out, most of the seeds as much as possible. You don't have to get all the seeds. You just get the big stuff out. You want to make sure that you're not putting any rotten parts, anything else in there. You're just putting in good apple slices. The skin comes out here. It does add a ton of flavor. I don't put any sugar in. I've seen a lot of recipes where it says you need to add lemon sauce and then sugar because the lemon sauce makes it bitter and the sugar counteracts that. I'm diabetic. I don't want any sugar in my applesauce. And you know what? This tasted better than any applesauce I ever had with sugar. This comes out tasting delicious. You got to get the apples in there pretty much within the first couple of days because I noticed the second batch wasn't as good tasting as the first batch. And tonight's batch will probably be lowest quality of all. Not a big difference, I could tell because I love the first batch so much. But I still have tons of apples out on the tree, so I'll be making more. So after you squish it out, this is what the applesauce looks like coming out of the machine. And, that's just like the stuff you buy in Costco. This is the stuff coming out the other end. This is all the bulk. You see the seeds in here, all the skin, all the firm parts that you don't want to, you don't want in applesauce. That's good compost in my fertilizer. I am using cinnamon, just generic store-bought. I've had this on the shelf forever. It tastes really good. When I get done, that was my first batch of applesauce. That was only like probably 2 layers in the bottom of that big pot. That was my first test to see how I liked it, and it came out delicious. Then I made a bigger batch after that. These are the apples I have left today. So it was probably about half full of apples, so I probably have about a third left of what I started with. And that's about it. Oh, there's the second batch. That's a really big bowl. I don't know if you can see in the back, that yellow bowl was the one I used the first day. The purple one is the pink, purple, whatever color that is, Barbie pink. That's my second batch, and I have a ton. And pretty much I put it into Tupperware and I threw it in the freezer. I left one bigger container in my fridge, so I have fresh applesauce. All the rest of them I put little containers into the freezer, and I'll have that for the next year, that's for sure. I don't know, I probably have a dozen small containers in there now. I did about 4 containers in the freezer on the first batch. I did another 8 on the second batch. So it's just continuing to, I'll have tons. And that's about it. That's how I made my applesauce.